Hey guys, welcome into our final edition of the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES. We're going to talk postseason, and we're also going to recap Week 11 of the high school football season with Bobcats head coach David O'Connor. I'm Wade Neely. Coach, let's dive in. Cats finish on a high note in the regular season, 56-28. Kind of a sloppy game at times, but the Cats were able to pull away in the second half against a scrappy Tullahoma bunch.
Yeah, I didn't feel like we necessarily executed as well offensively as we could have, and they gave us some different looks than what we had prepared for defensively, and it was a struggle a little bit through the first half. Our defense really stepped up the second half and kind of was the difference in the game.
You said it on this very show last week. You said don't count out Tullahoma. They may try some new wrinkles. What do? They came out and they kind of reinvented their offense.
That's right. They come out and run some RPO stuff where they were reading our coverage to our defensive fit scheme, and it kind of gave us a little bit of trouble for a while.
How advanced is that sort of a scheme? We've seen John run that to perfection, but John obviously having a sensational year. Tullahoma did have some success. How difficult is a scheme like that to implement?
Really, it's really fairly simple to put into place, and I'd say they probably watched John run that and kind of see what he had done and just put it in. They're 0-9. They think, well, we'll try it and see what happens, and it really gave us troubles, give us fits for the whole first half.
Yeah, first half, Cats struggled. But offensively, the Cats did not struggle. Two big performances, especially. Let's talk first. How excited were you to see Arkell Reed get back in the thick of things? Over 200 yards rushing on the night and a couple of touchdowns. Now over 1,100 yards on the season.
He's Arkell Reed. I mean, he's that kind of runner really to me all year. We tried to slow down his touches a little bit. Want to make sure he's healthy come the postseason, and he is. He's ready to roll this next week, and I think that's the most important part. How healthy will he be come season 2?
How much bounce did you see out of Arkell? Like you said, you've kind of limited some carries in recent weeks, but he's still got that pop a little bit, sounds like.
He still does, and you could see that all year. Every time we throw him a screen, he's made big plays off screens all year, and we'll need that again this week.
Let's talk another big performance. John Bacchus, quarterback for Giles County. Pretty efficient night after kind of a less than average passing performance statistically against Signal Mountain with that wind a couple weeks ago. How did he bounce back, and how did he look at the quarterback position?
Played really well. I felt like all his reads were really good. He was right on point all night Friday, and again, he's the trigger man. I feel like we've got several weapons offensively. It's his job to distribute the ball and get the ball to our playmakers.
He had almost 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. He's almost 3,000 yards on the season. Obviously, probably going to get that mark when we go into the postseason here. What have you seen in the second half of this regular season run out of your quarterback that gets you excited for the postseason?
Well, first of all, I think he's more comfortable running the ball right now than he was early. He had a little foot injury earlier in the year. And he's developed a good bit of confidence with a number of receivers and knows where those guys like to get the ball in space, and I feel good that he's just much more comfortable with the offense at this point.
Speaking of receivers, let's talk who stood out individually last week for the Bobcats at the receiving position. A lot of guys catching the football.
Yeah, Peyton Hall got tweaked his ankle in the second series of the game, so he missed most of the game. I felt like KJ Ziegler had another good night, 2 touchdowns, and Knox Birdsong made 2 nice plays for touchdowns. Those 2 young sophomores are really stepping up, and it's like I told them after the game. If you're a sophomore this season, when you start game 11, you're a junior. You need to play like you're a junior this year, or for the rest of the remainder of the season, postseason. So I'm expecting big things out of those 2.
Peyton goes down, but you just got roll over to the sideline and you just say, "Hey, next man up." Almost, is that how that process went?
Well, really, that's right. We kind of been preparing for that type of thing all year, and Tanner Holly walked right over and played Z, and that spot on our offense, and things just continue to roll.
Speaking of rolling, the Cats going back to Arkell, he was able to run the football well, as was John and some others. Maybe thanks to the offensive line. How did the O-line, Coach Kirk, and those guys grade out last week?
Jared Roberts is about as good an offensive lineman as I've had since I've been here. He grades out really well every week. Just about most every week he grades in the high 90s, and the rest of those guys are improving every week. Big Devontae Murphy at right tackle, I think he's improved a little bit every week. He's still got to do a little bit better job. His feet are a little slower than I'd like him to be for his size, but heck, he is 6'5", 310 pounds.
Can't coach that.
That's exactly right. As Nick Saban once said about recruiting, he says they ask him, "Why don't you recruit small, fast guys?" He says, "Fast guys get tired, big guys don't get small." And so Murphy's got an unfair advantage there for sure. Then at center, I feel like Drew Hawk's improved. He's a sophomore, has improved all year. Brighton Westmoreland's been a pleasant surprise and it's been probably our second best offensive lineman all year. Morgan Witt plays left tackle, and he's got a little bit of a bacterial infection. I'm kind of worried about his status for this upcoming week. And then Crockett Gibson's working over there at left tackle and is our next rotator in the offensive line. He gets a lot of reps. I feel like those guys have improved all year. Mm-hmm. You add that to the fact that I think Max Jett's improving week by week by week, as well as those other two tight ends, Noah Scroggins and DeAndre Dice picked it up as well at tight end. So we've got three pretty good tight ends. I think Max is really improving. His ball skills with his hands are really good. So I feel like we've improved there all year. If we keep progressing, I feel like we can make a little bit of a run.
How important, how impressive is it to see Max and some of those tight end guys kind of continue that depth? That really seems like an untapped resource this late in the season.
That's right. Max made a couple nice catches again the other night. He made a really nice catch on a stick route, stuck his foot in the ground, went up, got about 15 yards. Those guys are really big, and then we always talk about the offensive line, what they do for our run game. Mm-hmm. Hey, our fullbacks are doing a better job. I feel like Trillion Marks, we moved him from guard back to fullback early in the year. A few weeks after that, he kind of tweaked his ankle, sprained his ankle, was out for a couple weeks. He's come back, and he's done a really good job as well.
Yeah, you really didn't have to coax him too much, it seems like, to put the 45 jersey on and play the fullback position.
Yeah, and he busted out there with probably a 35, 40-yard run the other night, almost got to the end zone, went down about the 2.
We'll have to try maybe get him one in the postseason. Kind of covered the offense. Let's shift gears. Coach Roger Haynes in the defense. How thorough of a performance was it in the second half for the Bobcats? That RPO kind of gave you some fits, but you were able to kind of batten down the hatches in the second half.
Yeah, really, when they go to RPO, you have to completely change your scheme. It goes from being able to play a quarters or a zone-type secondary to almost having to play zero coverage, or you're not going to have enough to defend all 11. And so that's kind of what we did defensively. Our guys had a little bit of trouble with it in the secondary at first. We let people run away as our eyes were not disciplined enough to stay where they were supposed to be. But second half, we came out after some good talk at the halftime, getting some communication right with our players, and really shut it down the second half.
Yeah, all season long, the secondary's faced different challenges. Some weeks facing a wing tee, some weeks, facing, like we saw last week, zero coverage at times. Seems like it was a good test for the secondary last week, kind of getting one final test for the postseason run.
That's right. It was a good test for our secondary. It's really a similar type challenge this week with the Hickson. I hate to jump ahead, but they are going to try to lull us to sweep with their run game and in big plays with their pass game.
We'll talk about them a little bit more in just a moment. A couple final things. Special teams. How did the special units grade out last week?
Much better. I thought we had a couple nice jobs with our kickoff team. We kicked it deep a few times. We pinned them down inside the 25 a couple times. Anytime you can make that other team drive the ball 75 yards to score, I feel like our defense will have a really good shot at stopping.
Finally, it was a final regular season home game here at the Brickyard. It was also favorite teacher night, teacher appreciation night. What did you say to your team before they took the field? Kind of summarizing what was the final regular season game here at the Brickyard?
Well, what we told our seniors, this may be your last time in the Brickyard. How do you want to be remembered? What legacy do you want to leave?
Good deal. Coach, we will have much more on the playoffs. We're kind of just getting started. How did that process go Saturday? It's not as suspenseful as maybe in years past, but because the Cats already knew their matchup. But how was your Saturday kind of playoff process, for lack of a better term?
Well, our biggest problem for Saturday was, I guess, trying to get enough video on Hickson, so we were prepared enough come Sunday when we met with our kids that we kind of knew what we were going to be working on. So we had to get a hold of their coaches. They had to get a hold of us. We had to swap film. Of course, it's a lot easier these days. 10 years ago, we had to drive halfway to Chattanooga and meet somebody with some VHS tapes and or DVDs that soon followed. Now we just click a button on the computer and it ships it over and they ship it back. So the process is a lot easier, but the communication still has to be done.
Good deal. Coach, we'll preview Hickson. It's going to be a fun one, second season coming up here in just a moment. That was a recap of Tullahoma. The Bobcats finished the regular season with a 7-3 mark, and they're headed to the postseason. We'll break it down on the other side of this timeout on the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES.
This is the circuit courtroom of the Giles County Courthouse. Every day, important decisions are made affecting people's rights and privileges. When you are in need of legal services, please allow the experienced lawyers of Andrew Hoover and Attorneys to assist you in every step.
I'm Andy Hoover. For your free initial consultation, please feel free to call our firm or visit our website. We're here to help.
I'm a weekend warrior, and soccer is one of my passions. But when I sprained my ankle, I thought that was all over. But I went to Benchmark Physical Therapy. I was treated with manual therapy. My progress was measured each step of the way. I put in the time, the reps, the work to get my ankle ready for anything. So now, it's like it never happened.
Have you been thinking about getting back in shape? Or maybe you're an avid exerciser looking for something different? Come check us out at P-Town Strength and Fitness, where we offer a wide variety of functional movements, systematically programmed to help you get started and maximize your physical potential. Enjoy the sense of community, camaraderie, and teamwork in our one-of-a-kind group setting that will assist you in your quest for physical well-being. For more information, check us out on Facebook at P-Town Strength and Fitness or stop by at 200 East Jefferson Street in Pulaski.
Here in Tennessee, when opportunity knocks,
First Farmers is here.
a full-service bank with deep roots,
First Farmers is here.
loans to help businesses grow, and families plan for the future.
First Farmers is here.
The technology you need to manage your personal finances.
First Farmers is here.
As Middle Tennessee continues to grow, First Farmers, we're here.
I've got my closest friends over to watch the game on cable. Did you know you can advertise your local business during this cable program? Via Media represent the advertising for your cable system. They could put a commercial for you right on the system during the show. Let Via Media help you. Call Via Media today or viamediatv.com.
Hey gang, welcome back. We're at the Sam Davis Park here in Pulaski. Potential final edition of the Coach's Corner Show right here on PES. Coach, let's dive in. Postseason is upon us. This is always one of the goals of the team, is to get to the postseason. The Cats are in. They're going on the road, but they've got a winnable matchup Friday night at Hickson over in the Chattanooga area.
Oh, it'll be a tough matchup for us. First of all, just because of the adversity of the day. You know, you have to leave early. You have to ride a bus for 2.5 hours. All those different things, and then you're going to a completely different time zone. You know, anytime you go east, you get the bus lag, you may want to call it, instead of jet lag. But it's going to be a tough matchup for us. First of all, because they've got good athletes. Mm-hmm. They've got maybe the best offensive lineman we've played all year that also plays a good bit of defense, and then all the adversity.
It's going to be a tough matchup. I guess the good news potentially in that regard for the Cats did go to Signal Mountain 2 weeks ago, and you said that was going to be a playoff kind of potential test for the Bobcats from an all the other adversity type standpoint. And how did your team respond to that?
Well, you know, I didn't feel like we played as good at Signal Mountain as we could have played. I felt like we made some good plays and there's some good things happen, but I don't think we played with the same I guess vigor that we had at some other point of this season, and for sure when we play here at the Brickyard. You know, our fan base at home is ridiculous compared to anywhere else we go. You know, we'll go places that we'll have as many on our side in the visiting stands as they have on their side, so the atmosphere is just not quite as good. But that being said, you know, playoffs are about surviving and advancing. If we're going to move to round 2, we got to win round 1.
Yeah, and you watch the tape from Hickson. I love the story you told earlier. You said about 10 years ago you'd actually have to drive halfway and maybe at a diner or a restaurant or something, the coaches would meet up and they'd swap the tape. Now you just send the tape over. You watch the tape on Hickson. You mentioned the offensive line. Seems like that could be a potential issue for the Bobcats.
It is. They base out of what looks like a wing tee, but they also run a lot of option game out of it. It's going to be a tough matchup. It is going to be for sure that our D-line, our linebackers have to read keys and have to play assignment football. If they don't play assignment football, we could be in trouble.
Is it an offense we've seen before or seen pretty close, potentially Signal Mountain or even Lawrence County maybe?
No, not really, because they now early in the year they based out looked a lot like Lawrence County. Mm-hmm. As the years progressed, now they've looked more of a pistol wing tee. You know, a little bit different, where they'll also run their option game, their jet sweeps. It's going to be tough. And again, it's assignment football.
We talked about the secondary in the opening segment earlier. How alert will those guys have to be? Are they going to throw the ball down the field at times?
They do, and they do it a little untraditional, like Buck Weigel, you would call it as a coach, where they run a bootleg pass. He'll fake it. He'll only roll about 3 or 4 steps, and he likes to hit the deep ball down the. And he really don't throw as much front side as when he rolls left. He's a left-handed quarterback. He likes to throw the backside post.
So the secondary on high alert as well. I imagine that's got to be a tough assignment for the Cats, knowing that you're going to be needed in the run game, but also you got to stay back defensively.
You're exactly right. Those defensive guys will really have to be disciplined with their eyes, disciplined with their technique, so that they don't come running downhill, because it may be 20 runs in a row, then a touchdown pass.
Let's flip the field. Let's talk the Bobcats offense versus Hickson, the Wildcat defense. What do you see on tape that you maybe like in that regard?
First of all, let's talk a little bit about their special team. I want to get to that first. Their kickoff guy, if they kick off to us, I'd say 95% of the time he kicks it through the end zone. So we're going to have to drive the ball 80 yards. So we for sure have to take care of the ball offensively, because we're always going to start with our back close to our end zone. Then from that point, they base out of a 3-3 stack. They do a lot of moving. They roam and prowl with those linebackers, bring a lot of pressure. They love 5- and 6-man pressure. So, our offensive line is going to have to really step up to the challenge of being a little – and it's not really big guys. It's small, quick guys coming from everywhere.
Sounds like it'll be critical to get John enough time back there to be able to make that quick decision, get the ball out of his hands.
No doubt about it. Those guys are going to come on with John. He's got to make sure he knows who his read key is and know who his hot keys are, because a lot of times they're going to pressure him enough that he's got to get the ball to his hot read and get the ball out of his hand, and let's see what our other guys can do.
3-3-5, 6 or 7 in the box at times. How critical is it to get the run game going for the Bobcats?
Well, it's going to be that's really important. But what we've got to understand is when we spread the field, there's always going to be a 6-man box, and in general, when there's a 6-man box, you've got to throw the ball a good bit.
So that could be a potential spot for the Bobcats, and again the Cats. You got to like your chances with the signal caller back there. If John's able to get just any time, he's done a great job this season as far as reads and making the throws.
That's right. My only concern with that is that when you do that, it kind of dictates the offense. So, we're going to have to establish the run game somewhere. We got to figure out how we're going to do that, and we've got a good game plan, and I've got a good idea what we'll do to that. But and if we don't establish that, it's going to be all throwing it, and it becomes tough to win. That's the reason you don't see too many national championship teams that throw the balls 85% of the time.
Right, and kind of in the same token, going back to the Lawrence County game, tough to come from behind against a team that runs the ball a lot. That clock's going to be moving pretty quickly.
That's right. I expect it to be a pretty fast-paced game as far as the clock goes. We may be back from Chattanooga after the game by midnight, so that tells you how fast that clock's going to be rolling. A run-oriented offense, the clock don't stop.
And intangibles from the crowd we mentioned. What other things go into this? Now you're in the postseason here. How does the mentality of the team change? We know that the Coach O'Connor teams are famed for their tough practices during the postseason.
Yeah, we've had some tough practices this week. Hopefully our guys just have developed that sense of urgency that it's going to take to get prepared starting Sunday afternoon all the way up through game time the game's over really on Friday. Hope that we have that sense of urgency that it's got to get done now.
It'll be a 6 p.m. kickoff here, 7 p.m. local time. Biggest thing you're worried about your team as you make the road trip over to Chattanooga Friday night?
Just that day on Friday, how we're going to handle that. We were really fortunate here. We've got great administration here at our school and our entire system that's really helped us build what I feel like is as good a coaching staff as there is in Middle Tennessee. And I feel like those coaches we've really come together and we've really stressed the importance of how to prepare for this playoff game. So hopefully that'll help us out.
Good deal. Well, Coach, as always, thank you for your time. Postseason, nothing quite like it in high school football. The TSSAA does a great job, and the Cats had some success in the postseason before, hoping for another good run this year.
We would like to have a good run, but it all starts on one game. It's one game at a time, so you know how that goes.
Good deal. Coach, thank you so much this season.
Always a pleasure.
Hopefully we'll catch up with you next week.
Thank you, Wade.
All right, Bobcats head coach David O'Connor. Again, the Bobcats are on the road Friday at Hickson. That's over near Chattanooga. It's a 6 p.m. Central Time kickoff. It'll be 7 p.m. local time. For the Bobcats head coach David O'Connor and all of our gang here at Nelson Studios, I'm Wade Neely saying thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you next week here on the Coach's Corner Show presented by PES.